This is a touchy subject.
Yeah, this is kind of fucked. All right. The 62 million figure refers to a CNN investigation published in March 2026, which uncovered a global online grape academy. The report found that a specific website, which hosted over 20,000 videos of men drugging.
Sorry.
And
Wait. What?
Are you're okay. Drugging and sexually assaulting their partners, often referred to as sleep videos, received 62 million visits in the month of February 2026 alone. Key findings of the investigation: targeted victims. The investigation revealed that many of the victims were the wives and girlfriends of the men uploading or viewing the content. The Academy model. These online groups, often on platforms like Telegram, served as training grounds where men shared tips on sedative dosages, advice on how to avoid detection, and even live streamed the assaults for a fee.
That's crazy.
Global reach. While the site drew global traffic, a significant portion of its core audience was tracked to, guess where?
USA.
The country of Trump. Law enforcement action. Following the report, at least one man was tracked to Poland and arrested, and the site's owner has been identified in court records, though some of the networks remain active. Clarification on the statistic. While many social media posts use the phrase 62 million men, it is technically accurate to say the site received 62 million visits. Critics and analysts note that this total likely includes repeat visitors and potentially bot activity, though the scale remains a significant point of concern for human rights advocates.
Okay.
Think we got enough?
Yeah. So I came across this. This seemed to be pretty big on the internet. You know, there's been gender wars here. Mm-hmm. Before I even get into the gender war part of this, I would like to give some I'd like to, first of all, we're shedding light on the situation, and I'd like to give sympathy to the victims involved in the situation.
Absolutely.
Because there seemed to be a lot of women who trusted their partner, who trusted their man, and got that betrayed by someone like live streaming an SA. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff, I just want to make it be very clear. I don't stand behind anything like that. I don't support it. I think that it's unfortunate and it's very difficult for women. I'm sorry that women have to even go through this in the first place because it's unfortunate. So I don't want anything else that I say to devalue what I'm saying now, because that's my main thoughts when I see something like that. The only pushback that I have against this is it is being used as propaganda for gender wars to just act like 62 million men are the problem, men are bad people. And I've had conversations about this where a female even said that they believe that most men are rapists.
So that's pretty crazy, because knowing someone that works with females that are criminals, most of them are sexual assault people who do it to their own kids, women.
That's crazy. But to be real, though, 90% of all sexual assaults are by men, I'm pretty sure. So it's hard to debate, to be like, oh, women do it too. It's not a strong leg to stand on because, it's so disproportionate.
Or there could be the chance that women are just better at not getting caught.
Well, men aren't even gonna. Men probably aren't even
just
gonna
not reporting it. Yeah,
but I still don't think even with that they don't have the power to overpower us and take. And the whole dynamics, the way it works, guys are more sexually driven.
Because
anyways,
you have to remember that. So, like I said, most of the women that are doing this are doing it to children.
True, but I don't think that even the numbers with that. It's not like I've searched it up before, and it is still very disproportionate when it comes to men versus women with this specific category, sexual assault. And I understand the reason why, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I just don't like the way that it's being used because I did find another clip. another post. Go to the Reddit post that I linked.
Post, yeah.
Yeah. So I decided to find more information because I was just seeing people quoting like about the article, but I didn't see much depth into it besides just the main headlines that are divisive, right? So I searched it up and like it was that first comment there who was people were asking for more information on it. So scroll down a little bit.
1 second, let me put it on the screen so people can.
Okay, from Rump Truck on Reddit. I don't know how true this is, so I'm not taking all of this for a fact, but I did think that if this is a reality, it should be shed as well because I just want the truth to be shed, you know? So it says someone already linked to the other discussion, but an overview. There is a site called Motherless that hosts corn videos of people being murdered, pirated movies, millions of videos of immoral stuff. The site as a whole got 62 million page visits in February of this year. There's a category of corn on that site called Sleep, which is about 20,000 videos of men raping unconscious women. CNN did an investigation of this category. They found a Telegram chat group of about 1,000 members where users were buying and selling date grape drugs and discussing how to use them without getting caught. The chat group was the Grape Academy. The miscommunications are the CNN article make it sound like all the content on Motherless is the Sleep content, and the size of the chat group was only mentioned in a follow-up article about one of the members being arrested. So social media users thought all 62 million page views were on the Sleep content, and then someone misinterpreted that as 62 million unique users. And because the size of the group chat wasn't mentioned, that turned into people assuming 62 million users in the group chat. The miscommunication distorts the scale of the problem so badly that it leaves people hopeless. We can demand that Telegram turn over logs of 1,000 members to police. We can demand that the police prosecute 1,000 grapists who were dumb enough to leave a paper trail committing grapes. We can demand that Motherless takes down 20,000 videos. These are all reasonable steps that we can and should demand to make the world safer. If it were actually 62 million grapists, humanity has no clue how to handle justice on that scale. The current global prison population is around 12 million. We would need to 6 times that capacity to process everyone. That's simply not possible. So this was from a Reddit thing called left-wing male advocates. So because they're male advocates, like I said, I'm not going to take everything said here as a fact, but I do think that if we do take that as some sort of context, it does show like there is a group of heinous men who are out here supporting these things. But I do think that the 62 million number does sound distorted to me.
100%.
Yeah, 100% is.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, because it only makes sense that there's a group of people that are going back constantly to watch these things. They could be literally watching it every single day, twice a day, 5 times a day.
And they said,
you know what I mean?
They said 62 million was for the whole entire website, which has multiple categories.
Yes.
But within just the sleep category, there's 20,000 videos published. So I'm sure that the numbers on that is way less than 62 million. And like he said, there's only 12 million people in jail. So to think that there's over 62 million men who are like, I get the point of the message being saying like, yo, men are messed up by being like this, but I just want to like kind of bring a bigger topic out of this. How do you guys feel like men react to other men who we think would be a rapist? Do you feel like men support, like, let me ask a woman, do you feel like men support other men or don't hold men accountable for things such as grape?
I think it depends on the caliber of man that you are.
But on average, do you feel like
on average, I feel like the average dude would have like a twisted feeling in his stomach about it. I don't think they would be like, not the average person, I don't think would be like, oh my God, like you're a disgusting piece of shit. But I think there'd be discomfort in that thing. Yeah.
Move it a little bit.
One thing that kind of like, you know, about this whole situation is that most guys, like, the thing is that it's very hard to prove, and most people wouldn't think, like, if someone was to tell me that one of you were to do something heinous like that, I would have a hard time believing it because of our relationship. But in reality, there's some guys doing it. You know what I'm saying? So,
for sure.
So it's hard to believe when, you know, the trust between the dynamics, but at the same time, that also takes away from like a potential victim. You know, how do you guys feel about those things? How do you guys operate?
So in my mind, what I was basically thinking about is like, how did I come to find out that this person is this type of person? Is it a hearsay, like someone telling me that they did this, or are they telling me like kind of gloating, thinking that they
That's
trust me?
the thing. I don't think men ever do that because I've never felt. Maybe I give off signals that I'm not the type of guy they could trust to be that vulnerable with.
Yeah.
But I've never heard a man feel comfortable expressing even anything like that towards me. How about you guys?
I honestly, the situations where I hear people doing stuff like that is typically higher social circles. Like, so for example, like if you're on the Epstein Island type echelon, okay, maybe not that high, but I can imagine that they gloat within their small like little circles about stuff like that, and they don't really hold each other accountable. But the average man, I don't think.
I feel like the average man, if we hear a man's into that, we might just beat his ass. Like if you like an actual like I feel like depends on the level because I feel like there's so much levels to it. There could be like maybe a coercion thing that maybe we may not. The lines are blurry, whereas like where it doesn't sound like. If someone came up to us and said they forcefully took it from somebody, I don't see a man. I would be very surprised to see dudes that don't. You're right, because
like regular, like because like SES happened to me for sure, and it was somebody's like homeboy, and I was like, and that.
Sorry
homeboy,
to hear that, by the way.
Thank you, but that homeboy like was my friend. That was the person that brought me like to the party, and I was like, "Yo, your friend just did this," and the response was, "Damn, he did that to you, crazy."
That's fine.
He didn't call the boy?
No, they didn't call the boy. They didn't go beat him up. They didn't have a conversation like, "Yo, why would you do that to Neek?" It was kind of like, he is at it again.
That's
insane. Bro.
Yeah,
that's fucked. That's fucked.
So that's why I'd like to acknowledge that there is a problem.
Yeah,
there is a problem, and I feel like that may be the bigger problem because like when I was having this conversation with somebody about this, and then I was thinking like, what can I put? Because like I don't like when you're just demonizing all men because I don't think it's the majority of men who are rapists, but I do feel like there may be majority of men or a large portion of men who won't hold other men accountable.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that may be just as big of a problem as the latter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think as a man, what can we do to change this? Because we could all say that we're going to hold our friends accountable or whatever, but obviously it's not really being done because I do find it uncomfortable that most girls who I talk to have an SA story.
Yeah, but then we don't know niggas that have ever done that.
Facts.
Yeah.
But we do.
we do, but like we don't know from them, or like we don't. So I don't know about you specifically, but like, has there been women that have explained their SA situation and it was by someone that you knew?
Yeah, I've had a situation. Well, not SA. I would say more abuse rather than S.
And what did you do?
More physical abuse. Fam, for something for domestic abuse type situations, I don't know. It wasn't someone I was close with who I talked to every day. It was just somebody who I knew. So there's no more separation I could have possibly got from the person.
Okay.
But the way it is, what I feel like is difficult is that I would want to hear both sides of the story. Is it more like should we believe all women for everything? Because bitch, you lying. Because I'm not really on the side of believe all women for everything, but I'm on the side of taking it into consideration and like, seeing what
you know what it is.
But then when you hear somebody who you trust as a male friend saying it did not go down like that, then they give a story that sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But then a victim is expressing their story.
Yeah.
Who do you like? I'm not a police officer. I don't know exactly what to believe or who to believe because things can be so misconstrued. So that's where it gets very difficult. But I think that I've never had someone like come up to me be like an accusation like somebody forcefully raped you or something like that or something that heinous or like in your sleep or something like that.
Right.
Like something that is undeniable. I've never had somebody even like.
Yeah, it really does. It really does depend on the relationship that you have, either with the victim or the suspect.
Yeah.
Both, and I think that's what makes it hard because we would like to, like, we have friendships, we have relationships, and whatever. We'd like to give our friends the benefit of the doubt, thinking that we know them, but at the same time, there are victims out here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know. Like, my question is, what can we do to make an active change?
I would say because the whole idea of the conversation was like men enabling, well, not necessarily enabling, but basically knowing about it happening and kind of not really doing anything about it. But the explanation that you just gave, I don't think it's you knowing anything about it, because it's like I'm basically in a rock and a hard place situation because I have the trust for this person and I believe that they would never do that. But at the same time, this is a very serious situation. So your first thing would be to go talk to your friend and be like, hey, she's saying this and this and this, and your friend says, no, that didn't happen. Right. So it's like, do I trust my friend who I've trusted for the last couple of years? Or do I believe this woman that that might have something out against them, who I don't know what relationship she has. But I think the situation that stands out to me the most was the one that you explained, where it's like, hey, your friend did this. And he's like, damn. Like, he's at it again. That is the fucked up situation, because it's like, that he does shit
and
like
you
this.
acknowledge and you have him around.
Exactly.
Like they've heard this complaint before.
Exactly. Sure. That's where it's like, okay, now you're fucked up as well.
For sure.
For not like knowing this and not doing something about it, and believing that, he does shit like this. And then, but if it's like, I don't know what is the truth and what is right and wrong, I would just be like, hey, let's involve the police with this. Let's have an investigation going on, because I would also like to know what is the truth behind this.
Okay, one thing I do think that could help the situation as well is I feel like lots of SAs are underreported, and I feel like women definitely, I know it's difficult, so I'm not trying to tell you to do something that, I'm not trying to say force you to do anything, but I do think that having a record of these things, even if they don't get prosecuted, having a track record of like, suppose the guy who did that, suppose every girl who we did that to said something about it to the police, and then there's a record, then there's reasonable suspicion. We could then at least find some steps eventually. It would suck if he had multiple victims and it took that in order for him to finally get prosecuted, but it's better than not. So like, I feel like it definitely needs to be reported, and we need to hold men accountable. We need to hold our counterparts accountable. And I'm sorry that women don't feel safe around men in general, because there is a big wave of women who hate men or don't feel safe around men, and a lot of that stems from experiences that I'm sorry that they had to go through. So
like the man or the bear situation.
I think that's stupid as fuck.
That's
still.
idiotic.
But it plays into that conversation though.
But it's not logical. It's not logical. It's them just trying to make a point, but it's not logical in my opinion.
The man or the bear.
Yeah, I don't like demonizing all of anybody, all women, all men, all black people, all white people. I don't like dealing in groups and demonizing all people, because at the end of the day, women walk among men every single day unharmed. You know what I'm saying? So to say that you'd rather see him, like if you were actually stranded in the woods, you would be happy to see a man. You know what I'm saying? The chances are, if you've seen a man who was on that type of shit, and you're like, that's a very low percentage of luck. And I just don't like the representation. That was my only problem with the 62 million men thing. I don't like the representation that most men are grapists. Like someone said to me today that most men are grapists.
I think that's a very bold statement to say.
No, so I'm just like, I would like to give the benefit of the doubt to my fellow males that most of us aren't that bad. But I do think that there is a large percentage that, especially in hiding, to who are pieces of shit.
For sure.
Facts. So that
was a fucked up conversation that we had to have. But I mean, hey, you know what? It does have to be talked about, because it doesn't get talked about enough. In a sense of like what should be happening to either prevent or just be, what's the word I'm looking for?
This nigga's just yapping.
I'm looking for the word of not proactive. Not. Let me stop talking.
All right. Thank you.
You chat too much. Chat too much. Chat too much. Chat too much.